Eli Ward never thought the quiet colony town of Vesper Ridge would change his life. It was a small place on the edge of a young human world named Aryan 3, where storms came often and nothing exciting ever happened. People worked, fixed machines, checked weather towers, and tried not to think about how far they were from Earth. Eli liked it that way. He was an engineer, not a warrior or adventurer. He enjoyed repairing old equipment, cleaning sand from solar panels, and listening to the low hum of power lines. Routine made sense to him. Predictable things were safe. But on one strange evening, everything changed. That night, the sky looked wrong. Thick red clouds churned above the desert, and lightning flashed in strange colors, blue, green, and even white like burning metal. Eli stood on the balcony of the weather tower, staring up at the sky with a frown. He checked the colony's storm sensors again, but they could not explain the odd colors. The machines kept showing the same message. Unidentified energy signature detected. Eli scratched his head. That's new, he muttered. He was alone in the tower, as usual during bad weather. The other engineers had gone home early, hoping to reach shelter before the storm hit. Eli stayed behind because he was used to strange readings. The desert was full of surprises. Temperature spikes, dust storms that rose without warning, and electrical surges caused by crystal formations hidden under the ground. But this energy reading was different. It came from above the clouds, not below. The tower shook as thunder rolled across the sky. Eli tightened his jacket and leaned out to look again. A bright streak of light broke through the clouds, moving faster than any shuttle or meteor he had seen. It was a sharp, glowing object, leaving a trail of silver sparks as it fell. His heart kicked. "That's too fast," he whispered. The object dipped lower, screaming through the air toward the red desert sands outside Vesper Ridge. Eli watched it descend, twisting and spinning like a wounded bird trying to stay airborne. Then a flash of white light burst from its side as if something inside exploded. Eli grabbed his communicator. "Control, this is Tower 6. I've got an incoming, something. It's falling south of the ridge. I think it's going to crash." Static. The storm was blocking the signal. He tried again, shouting into the device, "Control, respond! This is important!" More static. A deep rumble shook the ground, and a distant plume of dust rose as the object slammed into the desert. The light from the crash illuminated the clouds for a moment before fading. Eli's hands trembled. His heart pounded in his ears. He knew he should return to the colony and wait for the storm to clear, like any sensible person. But something was pulling him toward the crash. Curiosity, worry, or maybe something deeper he couldn't name. And so he grabbed his backpack, sealed the tower door behind him, and stepped out into the dark. The desert wind was fierce. Red sand whipped at his jacket and stung his cheeks as he walked toward the crash site. The storm clouds swirled overhead, making the world feel heavy and strange. But Eli kept going, following the faint silver trail left on the ground. After 20 minutes of struggling against the wind, he reached a long trench carved into the sand. At the end of it sat the wreck, a small metallic pod, round and elegant with glowing blue veins that pulsed like breathing light. It didn't look human. Human escape pods were blocky, industrial, and plain. This one was smooth, silver, and shaped like a teardrop. Eli approached slowly. "Hello?" he called out. "Is anyone inside?" No answer. He moved closer, holding a small flashlight. The pod's side was cracked open and sparks popped from damaged panels. Strange symbols glowed faintly along the edges, thin curved lines that looked almost like flowing water. Eli swallowed hard. This is definitely alien. The world suddenly felt much larger and more dangerous. He leaned in, shining his light through the opening. Inside, he saw a figure collapsed on the floor of the pod. The figure was small and humanoid, wrapped in a light silver suit that shimmered faintly. Long white hair spilled across the floor like silk threads. Eli's breath caught. "Someone's in there!" He climbed carefully into the pod, trying not to touch any damaged parts. Kneeling beside the figure, he saw that it was a girl, young, maybe around his age, with pale skin that faintly glowed even in the dark. Her eyes were closed, and she was breathing weakly. On her arms, thin, glowing markings pulsed slowly, like dim stars. "Hey," Eli said, voice shaky, "can you hear me?" Her eyes opened. They were bright, shining silver, filled with a strange kind of calm even in her pain. She stared at him for only a second before suddenly pushing herself up and throwing her arms around him. Eli froze in shock as she hugged him tightly, her small frame trembling. When she spoke, her voice was soft, warm, and full of relief. "I've finally found you. My human." Eli blinked rapidly, unable to form words. Her voice sounded clear, as if the storm around them didn't touch her. Her breath was warm against his shoulder, and her arms clung to him as if she had known him forever. "Whoa, wait," Eli stuttered. What do you mean? Who are you?" She slowly pulled back, her glowing eyes trembling with emotion. "My name is Lysera. I have searched across star sectors for you." Eli felt like he had stepped into a dream, or a nightmare, or something between. "Searched? For me?" he repeated. "Why?" Lysera shook her head weakly. "Not here. Not now. The Krith. They will follow. They always follow." She touched her forehead in pain. "We must leave. This place is not safe." Eli looked around. The storm continued to grow, and distant thunder echoed like falling mountains. "Okay," he said quickly. "Can you walk?" Lysera tried to stand but nearly collapsed. Eli caught her before she hit the floor. I can," she whispered, "if you help me." Her trust felt strange, too sudden, too complete, but Eli saw fear in her eyes. Whatever had chased her here was real. "All right," he said, steadying her. "Let's get you to shelter." He helped her out of the pod. For a moment she looked back at it with sadness. "It carried my last hope," she murmured, "and now it is gone." "We'll figure things out," Eli said gently. As they walked toward Vesper Ridge, lightning split the sky behind them. Eli saw something that made his blood run cold, a dark shape high above the clouds moving fast. Lysera saw it too and whispered with dread, "They found me." Eli turned to her. "Who?" "The Krith Dominion," she said, "and they will not stop until they have what they want." She closed her eyes briefly, then looked at him with quiet certainty. "But I will protect you, Eli Ward, because I crossed the stars for you." Eli's heart raced. He didn't know what fate had brought this strange alien girl to him. He didn't understand her warnings, but he knew one thing. The calm and simple life he once lived was gone forever. Something far greater and far more dangerous had begun. The storm grew stronger as Eli guided Lysera through the desert. The wind pushed against them, and red sand swirled around their feet. Lysera leaned heavily on him, each step slow and painful. Her glowing markings flickered, almost like a struggling light bulb. Eli kept glancing back at the sky, where he had seen the dark shape. The clouds hid it now, but the fear stayed in his chest like a cold stone. "Lysera," he said, raising his voice over the wind, "what are the Krith? Why are they following you?" Lysera's breath came in short, weak bursts. "The Krith Dominion is a war empire. They conquer planets and enslave species. They saw something in my visions, something they want." Eli frowned. "Visions?" Lysera nodded slowly. "My people, the Astraeon, are born with memory threads. They are pieces of future possibilities. Not full visions, not perfect, but enough to warn us of danger. She paused to catch her breath. And many cycles ago, among all the possible futures, I saw one thing again and again. Eli felt her grip tighten around his arm. I saw your face. Eli's steps faltered. My face? Impossible. I'm just an engineer. I've never left the colony. Lysera looked up at him, her silver eyes calm despite the storm. Fate does not always choose heroes. Sometimes it chooses someone ordinary, because they make choices no one else can. Eli felt a strange twist in his chest, fear mixed with something like responsibility. But why? He asked. Why me? Lysera shook her head slowly. Not why. When? There is a moment coming, a moment that will decide the future of many worlds. Her voice softened. And you stand in the center of it. Eli didn't know how to respond. He had always considered himself normal, too normal even. A quiet life, quiet dreams. Nothing about him seemed important enough to attract an alien empire. But the fear on Lysera's face was real. They finally reached the first colony lights. The tall metal structures of Vesper Ridge glowed faintly through the sandstorm. Eli felt some tension leave his shoulders. We're almost there, he said. But Lysera stopped walking. Her glowing eyes widened. No, something is wrong. Eli heard it then. The distant low hum of engines, deep, thick, and unnatural. It wasn't a human shuttle sound. It was too heavy, too sharp. It vibrated through the ground, making the sand dance. Eli's heart hammered. They're already here. Lysera closed her eyes briefly. The Krith sent scouts. They know where I landed. Eli grabbed her hand. Then we need to move. Come on. They hurried the last stretch toward the colony gate. The guards at the checkpoint saw them and waved frantically. Eli! Over here! Quick! Two guards rushed forward. One grabbed Eli's arm. We picked up unknown ships entering lower atmosphere. What's going on? What happened out there? Eli opened his mouth to answer, but Lysera stepped forward, steadying herself on the guardrail. They are coming, she whispered. If you stay outside, you will die. The guards exchanged confused looks. Who is she? One asked. No time, Eli said. Let us in. The guards didn't argue after that. The gates opened and they ran inside, sealing the heavy doors behind them. For a moment, the storm was quieter inside the colony walls. The buildings were simple metal structures, arranged in neat rows. Lights flickered due to the unstable weather, but warm yellow lamps guided their path. Eli helped Lysera into the medical bay, where a startled doctor quickly rushed over. Eli, what happened? Who is this girl? Is she injured? Eli hesitated. She's not human. The doctor froze. Lysera gave a small nod. I mean no harm, but there is little time. Thunder cracked outside. The ground trembled. Eli turned to the doctor. Please help her. I'll explain everything. The doctor sighed, confused but willing. All right, I'll run basic checks and scan for injuries. As the doctor led Lysera to a medical bed, Eli stepped aside, running his hands through his hair. His heart refused to calm down. The storm outside was getting worse, and the hum of alien engines kept echoing in his mind. He didn't have long to worry. The colony alarm suddenly blared, a sharp, rising siren that made every person freeze. Attention! Unidentified units approaching. All citizens seek shelter. Eli ran to the window. Through the dust-filled night, dark shapes moved. Sleek, needle-like crafts flying low toward Vesper Ridge. Blue lights flashed under their wings. Krith scouts. Lysera sat slowly upright on the medical bed, breathing hard but determined. They came faster than I hoped. Eli rushed to her side. We need to hide you. If they're after you... No, she interrupted gently. I will not let the Krith destroy your colony because of me. Then what do we do? Eli asked. Lysera placed both hands on the glowing markings along her arm. In my vision threads, I saw a path where humans survive this night. But it depends on you, Eli Ward. Eli's throat tightened. On me? Yes. She reached into the collar of her suit and pulled out a small, crystal-like object, a memory shard. It glowed with shifting patterns like frozen light. This shard holds the strongest of my visions. The Krith want it because it can show future outcomes. She pressed it into Eli's hands. But only someone without a memory thread of their own can stabilize it. Eli stared at the shard, confused. Why me? Because you are human, she said softly. Because your mind is unpredictable, because the future cannot read you. Before Eli could ask more, the colony shook violently. A blast hit the outer gate. People screamed in the distance. Lights flickered. The doctor rushed in. Eli, we have incoming hostiles. Soldiers are taking positions, but we're outnumbered. Lysera stood, wobbling slightly. You must leave the medical bay. The Krith will scan it first. Eli looked between her and the door. I'm not leaving you. You must. She held his hand tightly. I crossed the stars to find you. I need you to trust me now. Outside, another explosion shook the walls. Eli had no time to argue. He stuffed the shard into his pocket and helped Lysera stand again. Where do we go? To the center hub, Lysera said. There is a safe place below it. We can hide the shard there. They ran through the colony corridors, passing frightened citizens rushing to shelters. Some stared at Lysera, confused and shocked at her glowing markings, but none stopped them. Halfway to the center hub, a metallic screech echoed overhead as a Krith scout ship landed near the plaza. Its hatch opened, and tall armored figures stepped out, thin, sharp, and insect-like. Eli froze. Lysera grabbed his hand. Do not run. They sense panic. But the Krith soldiers turned toward them anyway, their glowing visors locking onto Lysera. Eli's instincts screamed. Move! He shouted. They sprinted down a side alley just as plasma shots fired behind them, burning holes in the ground. Eli pushed Lysera behind a generator unit, heart racing. They know where you are, he whispered, terrified. They always know, Lysera said, voice trembling. That is why we cannot fight them directly. We must outthink them. Then what? Eli asked. We can't study strategy while they hunt us. Lysera touched the shard through Eli's pocket. We use the future. No, Eli said. We use the present. Something humans are good at. She looked at him with quiet trust. Then lead the way. Another explosion shook the ground. The Krith soldiers closed in from the plaza. Eli looked around desperately. Pipes, vents, loose wiring, old power panels. Things only an engineer would understand. His mind raced. We're not going to win by fighting, he said. We're going to win by being a problem. Lysera tilted her head. A problem? A big one. He grabbed a cable, ripped it free, and sparks flew. A plan formed, reckless, dangerous, and very human, and it might be their only chance to survive the night. Eli had never been a soldier, but in that moment, with alien soldiers closing in and the colony shaking under attack, his mind worked faster than it ever had. He looked at the loose cable sparking in his hands, then at the broken power panel beside him. Lysera, he said breathlessly, can you still sense where the Krith soldiers are? Lysera closed her eyes for a moment. The glowing marks on her skin flickered, then stabilized. 3 to the east, she whispered. 2 approaching from the north. And more incoming above. Heavy units. Eli swallowed hard. All right. Good. We need to be smarter, not stronger. Lysera watched him with steady confidence. Even injured, even afraid, she trusted him completely. Eli breathed in deeply and yanked open the power panel. A burst of warm air hit his face as wires sparked inside. What are you doing? Lysera asked. Making this alley a bad place to walk into. He connected the loose cable to a voltage line. The panel hissed, then began to hum with unstable power. Eli stepped back. Okay, when the Krith walk over that metal grate, it'll shock them. Not enough to kill, but enough to stall. And then what? Lysera asked. Then we move. They looked at each other, and Eli gave a tight nod. The first Krith soldier rounded the corner. It was tall and thin, with sharp edges along its armor. Its glowing visor scanned the alley, catching sight of them. Down! Eli yelled. He pushed Lysera behind the generator as the soldier stepped on the grate. A burst of blue-white electricity shot upward, sending the Krith crashing into the wall with a metallic screech. Two more soldiers ran in, and each suffered the same fate. Lysera stared in amazement. Human engineering is chaotic. Eli grinned despite the danger. Thank you. I take that as a compliment. But they couldn't rest. The ground rumbled again as a larger ship descended overhead. Its shadow washed over the alley like a dark wave. Lysera grabbed his arm. That one is a destroyer-class scout. Much stronger. Eli frowned. Great. Just what we needed. The massive ship landed near the colony plaza. Its engines shook windows and rattled dust from rooftops. A group of Krith soldiers marched out in perfect formation. This is getting worse, Eli muttered. We need to reach the center hub before that thing finds us. Lysera nodded weakly. Lead the way. The colony center hub was a large circular building where communication systems, data banks, and emergency shelters were located. It was the safest place in Vesper Ridge, at least it used to be. Now its doors were surrounded by panicked people, some crying, some shouting, some trying to grab supplies. A few soldiers stood guard, trying to create order. Eli and Lysera pushed through the crowd. One of the soldiers, Commander Vale, recognized Eli. Ward, what are you doing out here? We detected alien units breaching the west side. That's why we're here, Eli shouted. We need access to the lower level. It's urgent. Vale blocked his way. This is a restricted area. Lysera stepped forward. The glowing markings on her arms shone brighter. We do not have time for rules. The Krith are coming. Vale stared at her, stunned. Is she... Astraeon, Eli said quickly. Long story, but she's the reason the colony is being attacked. Wonderful, Vale muttered. The ground shook again as another blast hit a nearby building. People screamed. Dust fell from the hub roof. Vale cursed under his breath. Fine, go, just go. The lower access door is down the left corridor. Eli nodded gratefully and led Lysera inside. The inside of the hub was dim, lit only by emergency lights. Alarms flashed red along the walls. Eli guided Lysera down the corridor until they reached a reinforced metal door. Lysera touched the door gently. Behind this door is a safe zone. The shard can be protected here. Eli entered the access code and the door slid open. Inside was a small bunker-like room filled with old equipment, sealed crates, and a heavy steel table. It felt quiet, safe, and hidden from the chaos above. Lysera sat slowly on the table, breathing hard. Eli knelt in front of her. Are you all right? I will be, she whispered. But Eli, you must understand something. Her eyes met his, bright and serious. The shard in your pocket is more than a vision tool. It is a map of possible futures, many futures, some peaceful, some terrible. Eli touched the shard cautiously. It pulsed with warm light. Lysera continued. When the Krith learned I carried it, they feared what it showed them, a future where humanity rises, where humans become a force that cannot be controlled. Eli blinked. Humans? Us? What could we possibly do to scare them? Lysera smiled softly. You underestimate your kind. Humans are unpredictable, brave, and you adapt faster than any species I have ever seen. Before Eli could respond, the door shook violently. Boom! Dust rained from the ceiling. Boom! Lysera's eyes widened. They tracked us. Eli stood up, fear crawling up his spine. The third impact bent the metal door inward. They're breaking in, Lysera whispered. Eli grabbed her hand. We have to move deeper. There is no deeper, Lysera said. This is the lowest level. The door bent further. Blue plasma burned through the hinges. Eli scanned the room desperately. Crates, tools, thick wires, a power junction. A wild idea sparked. Lysera, I need you to trust me again. I always do, she said softly. Good. He grabbed a thick cable and ripped it free. The lights flickered as sparks flew. What do I do? Lysera asked. Eli pointed to the steel table. Lie on that. Lysera blinked. What? Why? No time, Eli shouted. Just trust me. The door finally burst open, and Krith soldiers marched in. 4 of them, armor glowing cold blue. Eli connected the cable to the power junction. The table hummed loudly. The Krith raised their weapons. Eli jumped in front of Lysera, shielding her. Now! He shouted. He slammed the cable against the metal table. A massive wave of electrical energy burst outward from the table, filling the room with bright white light. The shock wave knocked Eli backward. The Krith soldiers screamed in metallic distortion as their armor overloaded, sparks exploding from their joints. Within seconds, all 4 fell to the ground, disabled. Smoke filled the room. Eli coughed, head spinning. Lysera sat up shakily. That was very insane, she whispered. Eli grinned weakly. Welcome to human problem solving. Lysera gave a small, tired laugh. You continue to surprise me, Eli Ward. But the moment of relief didn't last. The walls shook again. The heavy thud of footsteps echoed from the corridor. More Krith were coming. Eli, Lysera whispered. We cannot stay here. Eli helped her to her feet. Then we fight. Lysera touched his shoulder. You cannot fight them all, but there is another way. What way? Lysera placed her hand on his pocket where the shard rested. We use the shard, she said. We find the one path that leads us to survival. Eli hesitated. Is that safe? No, Lysera said, but it is necessary. She held out her hand. Eli, give me the shard. Eli took a deep breath. Outside, the Krith soldiers marched closer. Inside, everything rested on one human choice. He placed the shard in her hand. The glowing crystal brightened, filling the room with light. Lysera's eyes widened as thousands of possible futures rushed into her mind. She trembled. Eli, she whispered, there is one path where we survive this. Only one. What do I do? He asked urgently. Lysera reached out, holding his hand tightly. We make the impossible choice, she said. And then, we show the Krith what humans are truly capable of. The footsteps outside grew louder. The door shook, and the moment of destiny approached. The room glowed with soft white light as Lysera held the memory shard. Eli watched her nervously, his heart pounding like a hammer. The footsteps of the approaching Krith soldiers echoed like a slow countdown. Lysera, Eli whispered, what did you see? What is the impossible choice? Lysera's silver eyes slowly opened. They looked brighter, filled with both fear and hope. Eli, the shard showed me thousands of futures. Many are dark. Many end in destruction. Her voice trembled. But there is one path where we survive. One path where humanity stands tall. Eli stepped closer. Tell me what we need to do. Lysera looked into his eyes with deep seriousness. We cannot defeat the Krith head-on. They have more soldiers, more ships, more weapons, but the futures showed me something important. Humans have something the Krith do not understand. And that is? Eli asked. You refuse to follow fate, she whispered. You create your own path. Before Eli could respond, the door shook violently again. The metal bent inward with each heavy strike. Boom, boom, boom. They are almost inside, Lysera said quietly. Eli looked around the room. The lights were flickering. Smoke still hung in the air. The disabled Krith soldiers lay on the floor like metallic statues. There was no way out. No more vents, no more trick panels. This room was supposed to be a safe place, but now it felt like a trap. "Lysera, what does the shard want us to do?" Eli asked. Lysera lifted the glowing shard between them. "It showed me a way to use the storm, the colony's power grid, and your weather towers to create a space distortion." Eli blinked. What?" "A distortion. A temporary rift in space that can pull the destroyer ship away. It is dangerous, but possible." Eli rubbed his face. "We can do that with just the weather towers?" "With your help," Lysera said softly. "Yes." "How?" Eli asked. Lysera reached out and gently placed his hand over the shard. Its bright light reflected on both their faces. "Because the shard reacts to human minds differently. It cannot work with my memories alone. It needs your unpredictable thoughts, your choices." Eli stared at the shard glowing between their hands. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Then the door burst open with a loud crack. 5 Krith soldiers marched in, their weapons raised. Behind them came a taller figure in black armor, the Krith commander. Its armor had sharp ridges, and its visor glowed a cold blue. Lysera gasped softly. "The commander!" The commander stepped forward. His voice was metallic and deep. "A Strayon girl, you carry the shard. Give it to us, and your death will be painless." Eli moved in front of Lysera instantly. "You're not touching her." The commander tilted his head. "Human, you are irrelevant. Step aside." "I'm not irrelevant," Eli said, voice shaking but firm, "and I won't step aside." Lysera touched Eli's arm. "Eli, remember the future I told you. This moment decides everything." The commander raised his arm, aiming his weapon at Eli. Eli took a deep breath and made his choice. He grabbed the shard tightly, sending a pulse of bright light through the room. The Krith soldiers stepped back, confused by the sudden energy. Lysera's voice rang out clearly. "Eli, think of the colony's tower grid. Think of the storm." Eli closed his eyes. His mind darted through memories. The weather towers, their circuits, their relay nodes, the unstable power from the storm outside. The shard responded instantly. A blast of light exploded around them, forcing the Krith back. The commander shielded his face as the light grew brighter and brighter. Lysera grabbed Eli's shoulders. "Focus! You need to connect the shard's energy to the tower network." Eli pictured the towers, tall metal structures, humming with unstable power from the storm, lightning striking the sand around them. The energy flowed in his mind like a map. The shard pulsed, the whole bunker vibrated. Above the colony, the weather towers suddenly lit up with white light, brighter than anything Eli had ever seen. Lightning arched between them like glowing bridges. The storm roared with unnatural strength. Lysera's voice was steady, guiding him. "Now, Eli! Open the rift!" Eli focused all his thoughts on a single point, the destroyer-class Krith ship hovering above the colony. He imagined pulling it down, twisting space around it, dragging it away from Vesper Ridge. The shard reacted instantly. A huge explosion of white-blue light erupted above the colony. A swirling rift opened in the sky, twisting and pulling at everything nearby. The destroyer ship tried to escape, engines roaring at full power, but the rift pulled harder. The sky trembled. The ship was dragged toward the distortion. Inside the bunker, the energy was overwhelming. Dust fell from the ceiling. The walls shook. Eli felt the shard burn in his hand. "Lysera, I can't hold it!" Lysera grabbed his hand tightly, her own markings glowing bright white. "I will help you, just a little longer." Together they focused, pouring every last bit of strength into the shard. Then, a powerful wave of energy shot upward, consuming the sky. The rift closed. The destroyer ship was gone. Silence fell across the colony. When the light faded, Eli collapsed to his knees, gasping for breath. The shard rolled from his hand, dim and cracked. Lysera fell beside him, leaning against his shoulder. "You did it," she whispered. "You saved the colony." Eli looked at her, exhausted, but relieved. "No, we did it." The Krith commander stood stunned, staring at the empty sky where his ship had vanished. He let out a distorted cry of anger before turning toward Eli and Lysera. But before he could attack, the colonists arrived. Commander Vale and several human soldiers, armed and ready. They surrounded the remaining Krith. Vale shouted, "Stand down, or we fire!" Outnumbered and without support, the Krith soldiers slowly lowered their weapons. The commander glared at Eli one last time, then allowed himself to be taken. Vale rushed forward. "Eli, what happened? The sky, it just ripped open!" Eli gave a tired smile. "Teamwork!" Lysera gave a small laugh, but her voice was weak. She swayed, nearly falling. Eli caught her quickly. "Lysera, are you okay?" "I used too much energy," she whispered. "The shard took everything I had." Eli held her close. "Stay with me, please." Lysera looked up at him with soft, fading eyes. "Eli, I crossed the stars to find you, and now I am glad I did." Eli hugged her tightly, whispering, "You didn't find me. We found each other." Her glowing markings dimmed, but she smiled gently. "Yes, we did." Hours later, the colony was quiet again. The storm faded. The Krith forces were gone. The people of Vesper Ridge gathered in relief, whispering about the strange rift in the sky and the brave engineer who helped save them. Lysera rested in the medical bay, recovering slowly. Eli never left her side. The next day, new ships arrived. Sleek, glowing, peaceful. The Astraeon. Their emissaries stepped out and bowed deeply to Eli and the colony. "We thank you," the leader said. "Lysera's journey was dangerous, but it was not in vain. Your courage honored her vision." Eli looked at Lysera, who smiled weakly from her bed. The Astraeon emissary continued. "We offer alliance, a future where humans and Astraeon stand together." Eli felt a warm pride rise in his chest. Humanity had stood tall, and together they had changed the future.